So you think you know Florida? Past the theme parks and postcard beaches lies a history so tangled it makes fiction feel undercooked. On a quiet island near Jacksonville stands Kingsley Plantation, one of the oldest and best preserved plantations in the state. I added this stop on our first DC road trip together, my second time headed north but my son's first, because I was still learning the overlap between what pulls me in and what holds his attention. I loved this place immediately. He was curious, cautious, and quietly taking it all in. That turned out to matter more than enthusiasm. On the surface, Kingsley looks calm, preserved, almost polite. But just beneath the moss and oyster shell concrete are unmarked graves, hidden rituals, and a family story so contradictory it short-circuits easy narratives. This isn't the history they taught us in school. It's the history that resisted being erased. Every strange story seems to orbit a contradiction, and Kingsley Plantation has one with a name: Zephaniah Kingsley. Born in England and raised in South Carolina, Kingsley was a planter, merchant, and ship captain, deeply invested in the buying and selling of human beings. He defended the Atlantic slave trade as respectable, even authoring a treatise to justify it. From the widow's walk of his house, he could watch ships arrive with their human cargo. And yet, because history rarely stays simple, Kingsley rejected the rigid American racial hierarchy. He favored the Spanish three-tiered system: white at the top, enslaved at the bottom, and a buffer class of free people of color in between. He argued it was more stable, less rebellious, more orderly. It was still exploitation, just dressed up as philosophy. Then there is Anna. In 1806, at a slave auction in Havana, Kingsley purchased a 13-year-old girl named Anna Madigany Ndiaye, a noblewoman of the Wolof people from Senegal, taken from her homeland and forced across the Atlantic. Kingsley married her in an African ceremony and brought her to Florida. 5 years later, he legally freed Anna and their 3 children. Under Spanish law, Anna didn't just become free. She became powerful. She managed the plantation, oversaw labor, owned land, and eventually enslaved people herself. Kingsley openly stated she ran the operation as well as he ever had. Her life defies easy labels: enslaved child, free woman, plantation manager, enslaver, matriarch of a multiracial family that included Kingsley's other African wives and their children. But this fragile world had an expiration date. When the U.S. took control of Florida in 1821, American racial laws slammed down hard. Interracial marriage was outlawed. Free black rights were stripped away. Seeing the tide turning, Kingsley moved much of his family, Anna, their sons, and around 50 freed people, to Haiti in the late 1830s. His daughters, already married to white planters, remained behind. History didn't just change here, it closed doors. While the family navigated law and legacy, 60 to 80 enslaved men, women, and children did the work that made everything possible. They lived in tabby cabins, concrete made from burned oyster shells, arranged in a wide semicircle. 32 cabins once stood here. 25 foundations remain. The ark may echo African village design, or it may simply have made surveillance easier. Both can be true. Labor followed the task system. Complete your assigned work, cotton ginning, construction, field labor, and the rest of the day was yours. It wasn't kindness, it was calculation. But within that sliver of autonomy, life persisted. People gardened, fished, hunted, played music. Archaeologists later uncovered handmade marbles, smoking pipes, fish bones, and even a harmonica. Proof that humanity doesn't vanish just because someone tries to own it. As my son and I walked the grounds, we heard it. A long, low moan drifting from the woods. Loud enough to raise the hair on your arms. A park ranger listened, shrugged, and suggested it might be a bobcat. Or a peacock. Neither explanation made it less unsettling. My son stayed close after that, eyes scanning the tree line. History has a way of feeling alive here. For years, the official narrative focused on Kingsley and Anna. Then, archaeologists began asking different questions. In 1968, one of the first excavations centered on the lives of enslaved African Americans took place here. What they found rewrote everything. Near cabin doorways lay iron tools, hoes, and axes, placed deliberately as spiritual protection, rooted in West African belief systems. Later excavations uncovered more. A sacrificed chicken atop an egg beneath a cabin floor, a pig skull near a well, a full pig skeleton beneath the sugar mill foundation. These weren't random remnants. They were intentional acts of spiritual resistance. Kingsley may have claimed ownership of bodies. He never owned belief. Records mentioned a cemetery. No one knew where it was. In 2010, University of Florida researchers used ground-penetrating radar near the cabins. Beneath the soil, anomalies appeared. Excavation followed. 6 graves. An elderly woman, 2 middle-aged men, likely born in West Africa, 3 infants or young children, coffin nails, buttons, whelk shells, used in African traditions to protect the dead on their journey. The remains were left undisturbed. They rest only feet from where life once unfolded, not displayed, not relocated, remembered. Standing there, it's impossible not to feel the weight of it, the silence heavy, the oaks listening. Kingsley Plantation is not a story of heroes and villains. It's a mosaic of contradiction and endurance. A slave trader who argued for the rights of free black people. A noblewoman enslaved, freed, empowered, and complicit. And countless unnamed lives that endured bondage while preserving culture, faith, and dignity against impossible odds. Today, only tabby ruins and ancient trees remain, but the ground remembers. And because someone chose to dig deeper, literally and figuratively, these stories weren't lost. Which part of this story stayed with you the longest? The family, the archaeology, or the voices that still seem to echo through the woods? Let us know in the comments. If you believe these are the stories worth telling, like the video and subscribe. It helps us keep listening to the places history tried to silence. And as always, get out there and explore the world your way.